Formagi YouTube video k lia oper jo tum ny story lik kdhs k oper tai men strong hook lik k do. Hook jandar. Suspenseful our curiosity si barpor hona chaye k mary vauer engage ho jn our video ko ntk dekina visit to relatives. I arrived at my relatives' house on a hot, humid afternoon. The street leading to their home was narrow and quiet. Tall trees cast long shadows over the cracked pavement. I could hear the faint buzzing of insects in the air. As I stepped closer, the wooden gate creaked under its own weight. The paint on the house peeled like old skin. A strange smell lingered, a mix of damp wood and something unfamiliar. Inside, the air was thick and heavy. I could feel it pressing against my skin. The living room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn tight. The furniture looked old, yet untouched for decades. I heard footsteps upstairs, soft but deliberate. I called out a greeting, but the sound felt swallowed by the silence. A sudden chill ran down my spine. I noticed shadows moving just at the edge of my vision. The walls seemed to lean closer, narrowing the space around me. I walked toward the kitchen, hoping for a familiar face. The floorboards groaned beneath each step, echoing too loudly. A drawer slowly opened on its own, revealing neatly stacked utensils. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. The air grew colder, and the faint smell turned sharp, almost metallic. I could hear whispers, soft and distant, but unmistakable. I spun around, expecting someone to be there. The room was empty, yet the whispers continued. A sudden noise came from the staircase, a heavy thud that made me stumble. I realized the front door had closed on its own. I was trapped inside, the walls pressing closer with every heartbeat. Then, from the corner of the room, I saw a shadow detach itself from the wall. It moved toward me, slow and deliberate, without a sound. My senses screamed at me to run, yet my legs refused to obey. The shadow grew taller as it moved closer. I could see it now, just at the edge of the dim light, yet it had no clear shape. Its edges seemed to blur and ripple, like smoke caught in a strange wind. I tried to speak, to call for help, but my voice refused to emerge. The air around me seemed heavier, pressing on my chest as if the room itself had come alive. I stumbled backward, my foot catching on the rug, and I fell hard against the wall. The impact left a ringing in my ears, but I could still feel the presence approaching. I crawled toward the kitchen doorway, hoping to find an exit. The floorboards groaned with every movement, each sound exaggerated in the suffocating silence. The shadows seemed to stretch along the walls, reaching for me with long, twisting fingers of darkness. I reached the doorway and peered out into the hallway. It was empty, but the faint whispering continued, closer now, like 100 voices murmuring secrets I was not meant to hear. I forced myself to stand, my hands trembling as I gripped the doorframe. A sudden draft of cold air blew through the hallway, extinguishing the candle on the small table. Darkness swallowed the corridor instantly. I could hear my own heartbeat, thudding painfully loud in my ears. The whispering grew louder, and I realized it was not coming from one direction. It was all around me. I could feel it brushing against my skin, cold and wet, like mist made of hands. I ran toward the staircase, hoping to reach the front door, but the steps seemed endless. The staircase groaned under my weight, each step echoing like a gunshot. Halfway up, the lights flickered. In that instant, I caught a glimpse of a figure at the top of the stairs. It was tall, impossibly thin, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, but they were not human eyes. They were black pools, absorbing the little light in the room. I stumbled backward, tripping over the last step. Pain shot through my ankle, but I forced myself to keep moving. I reached the landing and looked down the hallway leading to the bedrooms. The air was thick, almost solid, and I could barely take a step forward. The whispering was now a chorus, and I could hear words forming, though they made no sense. The figure at the top of the stairs moved closer, gliding without making a sound. I turned down the hallway, desperate for a room to hide in. The doors were all closed. I tried the first one, but it was locked. The second one gave way with a scream of metal hinges. I pushed it open and ducked inside. The room was small, almost bare, with only a bed and a dresser. I slammed the door and leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. The whispering was louder here, as if it had followed me into the room. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it did nothing to stop it. Then I noticed something on the floor. A photograph, old and yellowed, of my relatives smiling. But their